Welcome back to the show, Ashley.
Thanks.
So, you're the first one that has hit me up and be like, "Hey, I need to tell more," which I thought was funny because we talked so long. So, like, okay, she wants to talk more. And then you said something like the nitty gritty. So, what is the nitty gritty that you skipped over?
Okay, well, I like my mom to be able to share my stuff like when I talk about it, but there's a lot of things that she doesn't like to hear, and it's something that I think needs talked about more. Is sex trafficking, selling yourself, prostitution, whatever you want to call it, for money or drugs. Um, That's something I found myself involved in. I mean, that's always something I said I'd never do, but then it got to the point where, I was blowing through a lot of my grandma's money. So that's what I had to do. And the opportunity presented itself. So I jumped on it and it worked out. And I found people in my hometown that were older men and they owned businesses or whatever, and I could go sleep with them for 10, 15 minutes and make a couple $100. So after a
Now,
while, I
was
got
that
introduced.
were you finding people on Craigslist, Facebook that you just knew in town on Facebook, or
Other girls that I knew that got high did the same thing with those people. So I kind of just got plugged in.
and did the people in town know what they were funding? Like did
Probably.
did you ever get high in front of them or with any of them?
No,
Okay,
no.
no,
But
I
I'm
wasn't
sure
sure.
they did know.
Did you have track marks?
I wasn't a needle user.
Okay, I
I
couldn't
was,
remember. I've talked to so many. I've talked to so many lately.
yeah,
Okay, so you weren't. That's right. You sniffed a lot.
yep.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, at least you wouldn't have that. But still, I pulled up your picture the first time. You were skin and bones.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, they had to know.
Yeah. So, and how long did that go on for just in town? Because
Sure.
trafficking is considered when you're just like being taken somewhere, So where were you being taken besides your town?
I was taken to Chicago, Illinois, and I would go on like a Thursday and come back either Saturday night or on Sunday. And I'd meet even wealthier men and do sexual favors. We won't, I guess we don't have to talk about anything weird, but so I'd go there and I'd be there for a couple days and I'd come back with a lot of money, a couple $1,000, and I'd be using while I was there. The person who
So,
took me there had a plug there, so they could get me in while I was there.
so did this guy or these wealthy guys know that you were getting high since you were spending days there? They had to have known you were, like Mia in fucking Pulp Fiction, like sniffing the entire time when you weren't in the bathroom.
Well, the guy I went with, um, he
Wait, the
used
guy you went with?
it,
There
it
was
was a guy who took me, and I don't know if you would call him a pimp or what, but
That's exactly what they are. If they're bringing you from Ohio to Chicago, which is not around the corner, it's not one state, that's two states. Um, so yeah, that's considered trafficking you. If they're moving you from one location to another, that's
yeah,
sex trafficking. And
yeah.
especially if they're getting a cut of that money just for bringing you out there,
He
whether
didn't
it's from
take any
you,
of my money.
but that dude paid him to bring you out there.
Right. I mean, probably, yeah. But, and then I just had to sleep with him as well for going, and that was fine. So
Now,
I
did
came back
you
with
know did you know this person from town
I knew him from other girls.
that knew him for okay, I got you. So he wasn't from your area, particularly in your town, but you knew him from people that you met along the way that introduced you to him, and then he said, "Hey, I can help you make some more money."
Yep.
Okay, that makes sense. And how long did that go on for where you were going out to Chicago on the weekends?
Oh, like 3 months. And then it just stopped because that's when I got clean for the first time.
That was your first time getting clean? Did you relapse after that?
I had 2 relapses and then I have 2 years now.
Yeah, okay. But when you stopped, doing sex work, then you went to rehab, like what was it that made you turn down the money for the rehab?
To go to rehab?
Yeah, what was it that you were just like, I don't want to make money this way anymore. I'm going to go to rehab.
Oh, that's how I got in trouble with probation.
Okay, do you want to remind people that maybe didn't see that episode either, or
Okay.
myself that,
Well, I was using and probation finally caught up to me and
they
I was
drug tested you?
reporting and they made me take a drug test when I wasn't, you know what I mean? I wasn't supposed to be reporting. So,
Did you have a relapse though after you went to rehab that one time?
yeah.
Okay, but what was it you didn't want to go? Why didn't you go back into it then?
Well, when I got out of rehab and I was clean for a little bit, and then I don't think I could really sell myself sober. And then my relapse was really brief. It was only like 3 weeks, maybe.
So it
So,
wasn't a time where you got to the point where it was
right.
like, I need to do this to make money because you were already back. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense then.
I mean, real quick, the closest thing I've done to that was I don't know if you saw my Facebook post the other day, but some random guy hit me up and this is what he said. He was like, I don't know him. I don't know how he found me. He was like, "Hey, do you smoke cigarettes? I'll pay you for videos of you smoking cigarettes." And I was like, "What?" And he said it again. And I was like, "Okay." And he was like, "Are you down?" And I was like, "Sure, fuck it. I'm about to leave work and smoke a cigarette right now." He's like, "Well, what would you charge me for a 3-minute video?" And I was like, "Well, I don't know, dude. Like, what would you charge for something like that, you know?" And he was like, "Well, how about $10 a video?" And I was like, "Okay, cool." He's like, "I'll send you the money right now." And I was like, "Okay, cool." And he cashed at me $10. And I literally drove home in my car and just videoed myself smoking a cigarette and sent it to him. Dude, I made $100 within 2 days. I was like, okay, this is cool. And like, I was telling some people about it, and they're like, that's fucked up. Why would you do that? I'm like, what am I doing wrong? You know what I mean? Like, I'm smoking a cigarette. And I even told the dude, I was like, dude, whatever you're into, that's cool. I'm not going to judge you. Like,
Yeah.
I talked about in my other video how I go to schools and talk to kids and talk about, you know what I mean? Like they get to hear from me, somebody who's been through the stuff versus like a dare officer or their mom and dad saying, don't do drugs. So when I go and talk to the kids, like I keep it real with them and I talk about selling myself and I just like, but when I'm talking to them, I just like go over it real quick. You know what I mean? Like I wasn't making enough money, so I made the decision to sell myself, and that's all I really say. But when I say that to them, like they laugh. And like I keep talking, you know what I mean? Because I'm like, I probably would have fucking laughed in high school too. Like, yeah, right. I'm not about to sell pussy for, you know what I mean? Whatever, a 40 bag of dope when, I ended up doing it. But, um, and like even my mom, you know what I mean? Like her being embarrassed about it, like just, I don't think she realizes how many girls, you know what I mean? Like even when I talk to like girls that like maybe wasn't doing it like me, but they sucked a dick for a 20, you know what I mean, or whatever, like
We're
it
just
happened.
straight up a trade. Just like, not even a money. Just like the dealer, just, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I done that too. I've even like okay, this is something. I After when I had gotten my OVI, I lost my license, so I couldn't drive. I would have other people drive me because I went to a different town. It was like 15 minutes away to cop. So I'd have these other people take me. And like I said, I was doing like 2 to 3 grams, so that's $200 to $300, and I'm buying that just for myself, right? I was so greedy. I was not about to give this person that drove me any out of this 2 grams that I just bought. So I would blow the dope man for 2 blocks for a 20 to give them. Like, what the hell? And I'd be telling them up front, like, just don't turn around. Like, who acts like that? Like, really? And like, the dude would even know that I just spent all that money and still be like, hey, let me do this because I got to give them something, like, fuckers.
Giving
Like,
them a show is what you're giving them.
what's that?
But giving them a show is what you're giving them.
Like, what the hell?
Because they
dude?
were in the car.
Yeah, they were driving. I'd be in the back with the dope man and tell him, like, don't turn around. We'd just drive him, like, from the bar to his house, which was like 2 or 3 blocks. And he ended up getting clean, too. And we were friends on Facebook. And like, we never really talked to each other, but what's funny is a year ago I got put on a billboard for recovery, like my picture, and it's like, hey, recovery, call this phone number, get clean, blah blah blah, whatever. So he ended up seeing me on this billboard and he messaged me like, hey, I fucking seen you on a billboard for recovery, man. I'm like, hell yeah, dude, I look way better than the last time you seen me, huh? He's like, yeah. And it was just so weird, you know what I mean? Like, for him to see me like that. He was probably driving like, what the hell is that, Ashlee? Like, on the side of the highway. Yeah.
But he's clean now too, at least.
Yep. Yeah.
That's good. Because not everybody makes it out, as we know.
Right. Yeah.
So, okay. I mean, is that like how it kind of started to where you got more comfortable with like selling yourself? Is like, well, if I'm gonna like just to do stuff like that, like, but did you do that first or did you do it for money first?
I
Because I
did it
feel
for
like
money.
it was for money first.
Yeah.
Okay. 'Cause I wasn't sure if it like built to money and then built to Chicago. You know what I mean? Like, because some people like, the favors go back to like even before drug use sometimes. But no, you were married early though.
Yeah.
So, I
That was
mean,
nice.
how now I'm curious, did that ever happen while you were married?
Mm,
Or was it even a conversation that was like, because you guys were hard up towards the end?
uh, I think towards like at the very end, you know what I mean? I think that was like the end of it.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay.
Yeah.
Because I know your end was like quick. Like it went from like 100 to 0 for you with where you guys were at and then just
Yeah,
stop.
sure.
So, you know. Now, the other thing that is nitty gritty that we didn't discuss yet is
Yeah,
about recovery and
absolutely.
how we both have something in common about our recovery that is huge, that is a huge stigma, and it is not talked about enough because of the stigma that is attached to it.
Yeah.
Now, I have been doing this since day one in my recovery. When did you decide to start using medical marijuana in your recovery?
It was April. Well, we'll just say May of this year.
May of this year?
Yep.
Okay, so about 5 months ago. And what made you decide that you wanted to add that to your recovery? Because at
Well,
that point you had like what, a year and a half sober?
yeah, dang near
Okay.
almost 2 years. Yeah. Well, it's something that I've never had a bad opinion about, I've always viewed it as something good, something positive. Um, and also I have epilepsy where I have grand mal seizures and I'm on medication for that. And I have occipital neuralgia, which is a pinched nerve at the base of my neck, which causes like hella migraines, and I have to get injections literally in the back of my head, 4 of them every 2 months for the pain. And I talked to my sponsor about it, and she said, as long as I was going and getting my medical card and I was going to do what I was supposed, to do it the right way, she didn't see a problem with it. So I got on and I talked to the doctor, and I had you have to send over your medical records or whatever so they know. I mean, obviously anybody can get on there and lie, so they got to know you're telling the truth about what's wrong. So yeah, and it's been going well.
Yeah, it is one of the best things for people that, especially epilepsy. Like, it is, I don't want to say it's a cure all for epilepsy, but it is the closest thing to help people that are epileptic live a regular life,
Oh yeah. If you
without a
watch
doubt.
videos of people that are like having seizures and they put like the drops in their mouth, that's like
Or the
with
spray, even up their nose, the nasal spray, even
yeah.
like reverses it in seconds.
Yep.
The documentary that got me into rehab, Legend of 420, like I sent you over that clip of, me talking about while I went to rehab in LA. And actually in that documentary, in the middle of it is a segment about high sobriety, the rehab I went to in LA. In the beginning is a story about like a 12-year-old in Oklahoma, and he had epilepsy so bad that he couldn't even talk. He never even got the motor skills, to even have a conversation. He had like an 8-year-old brother that he never could talk to because his seizures were that bad. And they tried every medicine under the sun. And so this was like probably 8 years ago. So this is before Oklahoma now has medical marijuana.
Okay.
But they couldn't do that. So they had to move the family to Colorado. So they moved the family to Colorado and they started using the nasal spray. Within 2 weeks, he could talk, and him and his brother could have conversations, and he could live a regular life. Within
See,
2 weeks, just with
I,
the spray. 2 weeks. That's all it was. Within 2 weeks, he was living a regular life for a 12-year-old for the first time in 12 years. And I was just like, I'm an emotional guy, and I was like so high at the time. I was so broken. I was getting ready to go to rehab. So like I
yeah.
get choked up just telling the story, but when I was watching it for the first time, I was just like, there was no turning this off. Like I was just like crying so hard because it is a wonderful plant. It's not something that's being produced by pharmacies. That's why it's so hated on, is because it can't
Yeah.
make them money, and it can't make the doctors money because they're not writing scripts for it.
Right. And also, like, I get it. Like, a lot of people maybe can't smoke weed without wanting to use something else. I don't know, but I don't have that issue. You know what I mean? Like, see, the
Well,
only
when we
I
talked the other day, weed was not really part of your story at all, like in a negative way. I can't
yeah,
remember you even talking about, besides like, oh, I drank and smoked. That's everyone's high school experience.
yeah,
But it was never like I was missing work because I smoked weed. It
right.
didn't make your life unmanageable like heroin did.
Yeah. And like the most I want after I smoke weed is munchies and snacks. You know what I mean? Like, I'm
Yeah.
not going and doing anything. Like, I don't even want to get up and answer the door. Like, I don't know. And actually, this just made me think of something that happened to me last night. I talked in my last video about how I work a 12-step program. Um, and that's well aware. People know that, and that I don't really. I think I told you that I don't really like to give AA leads, because, like, an actual lead at an AA meeting, because my story is mainly drugs. So I speak at like recovery events. Like, I was at one in Indiana this past weekend. All recovery type meeting, you know what I mean? Like, not a 12-step one, but somebody made a comment on a post last night on one of the videos somebody shared, of my speech over the weekend, and they said, "Oh, Does she talk about how she smokes weed when she gives leads? I just don't think she has any business speaking about it because it's a little hypocritical. Okay.
You know, it's bad to run an honest program, right?
Like,
You know, it's a bad thing if you run an honest program and you're honest with people, because that's what I'm being sarcastic as fuck. Because that's why I don't go to AA anymore. Because in California, they let me talk about it. Everybody knew that I was using cannabis in my recovery. Like Cali sober is a big thing out there.
yeah.
Even before Demi Lovato started talking about it, it was a big thing. So they were cool with me talking about it. And I got back to, conservative PA, and they're like, no, don't say pills. You got to say alcohol. What do you mean cannabis? You can't mention cannabis in here. Like, that kind of thing. So, they wouldn't give me a 1 year chip,
Oh no.
So like I never went back. And I actually drank exactly a month later. And it was out of
Things
spite.
like that, people being judgy like that is what
Yeah.
pushes people out of the rooms.
Yep. I haven't been to an AA meeting since. And I love AA. I think AA is an amazing program. The
Hmm.
problem with some AA is the
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
The people, they're called in the book deacons of AA. They're the ones that are like the big book thumpers,
Yeah.
but they'll try to quote you a line from the book, like it's line 17, page 492, and it's this, those people, right?
Yes.
And they sit in the corner like the old Muppet dudes, you know what I mean? Just whispering to each other about all the newcomers and about look how bad they look.
Yeah.
It's those people that are miserable in sobriety that I never wanted to be.
Hmm.
So if I'm going to use cannabis in my recovery and I'm going to be open about it, I'm going to be honest about it because not being honest will put me to use drugs. So
Yep.
if my honesty makes you uncomfortable, then I won't come and I'll make my own thing.
Absolutely. That's why I'm very thankful that I met my sponsor and I have her as my sponsor because she's very pro harm reduction. You know?
Especially because you're fucking epileptic.
Yeah. And
Like,
I'm on gabapentin for the epilepsy.
yeah, but
So,
that doesn't. I mean, let's
but
be real. Like, I
gabapentin
use
is
GABA.
highly used. So I
Yeah,
would like to get off of the gabapentin, but coming off of gabapentin also causes seizures. So my plan is to like just slowly.
I have so many problems with gabapentin. So actually, the biggest thing I'm gonna talk about with cannabis is changing your relationship with it, because I find that it's important to have a different relationship with smoking or using it in any way possible. Like for example, I rarely use it if I'm depressed or having like a really bad day. I won't smoke right away. I will sit in the shit, is what I always say, sit in the depression for as long as I can until it's past me before I medicate.
Sure.
And the reason is because I don't want to use it to escape. I don't want to feel like I'm trying to escape bad feelings like I used to in addiction.
Hmm.
So, like, I actually haven't smoked in months. I use these guys. They're it's called RSO. They're capsules,
Okay.
and we don't have edibles in Pennsylvania. So like we can make our own. Like we have a magic butter machine, and we can buy like a quarter and put it in there and spit out the pound of butter that's mixed perfectly, and it's fucking awesome.
Oh.
But yeah, we got it for Christmas. And it's on Amazon for like $200, and it's fucking amazing. But anyway, so we were using that a lot, but you end up going through a lot of flour that way, and then you end up eating a lot of butter. You find excuses to eat butter every day, like it's not healthy. Like I'm fucking eating grilled cheese for breakfast just to like make an edible. you know, and my 7-year-old's like, "You can have grilled cheese for breakfast." I said, "You can too when you're an adult. Eat cereal." like, and we've normalized, what it is. Like we've baked it before in the oven because you have to bake it for a half an hour, at 240 before you put it into the machine. Because we actually used to make tea also. So like when
Okay.
my gallbladder was functioning like all bad, I couldn't smoke because it was hurting too much because my nerve that I have that's going against my stomach without the tissue there, when I cough, it hits it and it
Mm.
hurts. So like smoking bongs or anything hurts. So yeah, we started making tea. We would put it in the oven, at 240 for a half an hour, and that decarbs it. It's basically the ignition like a lighter would be. Because
Huh.
once you're done doing that, we would get loose leaf green tea. We would buy like giant packs from like Amazon, and it'd be the loose leaf tea, right? And we would boil it mixed with the flour in the tea kettle. It would be like in this tea kettle, and it'd be mixed the flour and the tea, and it would come to a boil. We would let it sit and simmer, and then we would, dilute it with another thing of water and pour it in this giant like 3 gallon jug, and put it in the fridge and have cold green tea that was, medicated.
Dude, that's cool.
Yeah. So we did that a lot before we got the magic butter machine. But now I can use the RSO capsules because I can microdose with them. I'll take one in the morning with like my blood pressure medicine. I'll take one in the afternoon with my medicine. Then I'll take like two at night to help me sleep.
Okay.
But for me, the relationship part of it is I can't escape with it because I can't be like, I'm feeling bad, Xanax, boom. Minutes later, not feeling a thing because of Xanax.
Yeah.
With this, if I'm feeling bad, I take one, and then an hour to 3 hours later, my mouth goes dry, and I start to realize it's kicking in. So it can't be used as an escape. It has to be used as a medicine that way, and it kind of regulates me to like use it that way. And plus, like I'm a 20-year cigarette smoker. I just turned 35 today, and I've been smoking cigarettes since I was 12.
Uh-huh.
So, the less amount of smoke I put in my body, the better, because it's easier for me to not smoke weed than it is for me to not smoke cigarettes. Let's be real. I go the rest of my life without smoking weed, but I need a cigarette.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you're lucky you can smoke indoors. I miss being able to do that. Like, if I could smoke inside my office, it would be so dangerous. I would smoke way too much. The entire walls would be yellow behind me instead of green because I would just be sitting here chain smoking while I was editing.
Yep. Yeah.
So, what do you find works best for you? Is it smoking a joint? Is it smoking a bowl? Is it using the tincture? Is it using edibles? Do you guys have edibles?
Yeah. I go to Michigan to get mine because in Michigan they have medical and recreational, but I do have my medical license, but it's cheaper in Michigan than it is in Ohio.
You're not
Ohio,
far from Michigan, are you?
no, it's like I think we drive an hour and a half.
Yeah.
It's not too bad, and I go with somebody who spends a lot, so I mean the trip's worth it. So, but
Yeah, I
Ohio,
actually had a
yeah,
guy on from Ann Arbor, and he uses medical marijuana. He has cancer, and he's in recovery also from pills, and he uses medical marijuana in his recovery too because he has cancer, and it helps with the fibromyalgia and everything else that comes along with it. I think a lot of people use it, even that are just still afraid to even say it,
yeah,
because it is such a thing that it never has one. I have never used cannabis and been like, I need to get really high and go get like 30s now. I've never ever needed
exactly.
that extra high. It always
Mhm.
has done what it's needed to do. And I always like when I did stand up, I always had a joke that cannabis was always the like it was innocent bystander. Like when you would watch Cops, the phone calls on Cops, they would never be, my husband just smoked a blunt and now he keeps hitting me in the face. That's never the phone call. It was
Right.
always he was drunk or he was high and he's hitting me. Oh yeah, there's weed here. Like, you know what I mean? Like, oh yeah, we found this, that, this. Oh, we found some weed. Weed is always the innocent bystander. It's never the person that's actually doing like bad shit or causing it. It just happens to always be there.
Yeah, that's true. And I mean, I've kind of said that to, like, I've even said, like, I feel like, like people get drunk and drive and, kill other people in accidents or run stop signs and stuff. I feel like if I would drive and I'm stoned, I'm sitting at a stop sign too long because like I think I'm at a stoplight or something. I don't realize it's a stop sign, you know, like I'm not blowing it. Like I'm cautious when I'm high. I'm not cautious drinking, you know?
The first time I was like probably 16. I was 17. The first time I ever smoked while driving, and I was like 17, and I was like stoned like behind the wheel. I was 17, and I stopped at a stop sign, and my friend's like, "What the fuck are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm looking both ways, asshole." And he was like, "The sign is saying there's a stop sign ahead." It was one of those like yellow stop signs that's saying caution, stop sign ahead. And I was just like at the railroad tracks looking both ways. There's nobody can come. I'm at a house right there, and there's just grass and tracks right along this side. He's like, "There's no, where are you looking? Just drive. The stop sign's ahead." And I'm like, "Oh shit." Exactly to your point. I wasn't just like blowing through stop signs, you
Yeah.
know. And there's people that talk about it all the time, but like, you are a dangerous, careless driver when you're drinking and driving. You're the most selfish driver. The road is your road. But
Mm-hmm.
when you're on cannabis, you're like 95 years old. You're like checking the mirrors 9 times, the blinkers. You're doing the whole check that they tell you to do when you're 16 in driver's ed. You're
Yeah.
like using the blinker to pull out. You make sure everybody's gone before you chance pulling out of the parking spot first. You don't want to cause an accident. You just want to get home safe. Like it is alcohol is the most dangerous by far drug in my opinion to use. Even I think it's even I would go as far as to say I am more dangerous drinking and driving than I was on pills and driving. When in addiction, I was more dangerous on the road if I didn't have pills on me because I would be throwing up bile as I was driving. And
Yeah.
that's more dangerous because that's just straight dry heaving and your eyes are completely watered out. And you're driving and you're doing the entire time. Like,
God.
that's what I'm having these stomach lining. I was dry heaving every day. So, but when I did those pills, I could drive for hours. I was wide awake. I could clean the whole fucking house. I was good to go. I had all the, it's like I did a line of coke, but it was pills,
Sure.
So I feel like I was actually safer on the road because I was more alert and awake than I was when I'm withdrawn and just like dying to drive to
Yeah.
my dealer. And I'm like, like that's more dangerous.
Absolutely. Yep.
So, I couldn't agree more. So not everybody know. So people were finding out really for the first time, about you doing this. Besides, like your sponsor knows, you've been open about, and you've
Yeah.
talked about it at like recovery meetings, but not like in the rooms.
No. No. Because obviously, people are judgy, and even people tell me that if I smoke weed, I'm not in recovery. Okay, you know what I mean? I'm not blowing somebody for weed, you know what I mean? I'm not selling my pussy to get money for weed. Like it's stupid. Like I'm functioning, you know what I mean? I'm not high all day.
There's
I s-
people in the rooms that take Ativan. There's people in the rooms that Bill and Bob, Dr. Bob and Bill, when they wrote they talk about using medications. They even talked about, they went as far as talk about hallucinogenics. They were
Mhm.
using like acid and mushrooms in their recovery early on while they were like writing one of the biggest, most useful books when it comes to recovery of the 20th century.
Yep.
Like they talk about that. Read the fucking book again.
Yep.
Because if you're going to sit here and lecture us, as in you and me, for, using cannabis in our recovery, read the book again.
Yep.
If Reefer Wars or Reefer Madness wasn't such a big thing in 1935, I guarantee they would have included cannabis in the book too.
Mhm.
Because they talked about other things like shrooms and acid in there, like that were useful tools. So, like,
About doing like what they were sedatives. That's what their pills
yeah,
were sedatives.
yep. And not only, but like, they're the same people though that will argue with you in a meeting because you said recovered by accident. You ever hear, like, oh yeah, recovered. You're like, what do you mean you're recovered alcoholic? You're always in recovery. You're never recovered. When you say you're recovered, you failed. Well, guess what? The word recovered is written in the book 17 times. Explain
Yeah.
that. Explain
Yeah,
that.
my sponsor says recovered.
Yep. It's what it says in the book. And I don't
Yeah.
even say recovered, but I stick up for those people that do say
Yeah.
recovered. Or at
Yeah.
least I used to when I went to the rooms. But like I would stick up for them and be like, don't try to tell somebody how they need to talk in their sobriety. Whatever is
Yeah.
giving them that confidence to be there and to be sober, let them have that confidence. Why are you trying to tear somebody down?
Mm-hmm.
Just because it doesn't work for you? Okay, well, I'm sorry for your luck. It works for that person.
Yeah.
Like, would you rather us be out there doing what we were doing before? Because you know what? We tried being in the rooms with zero other help, and it doesn't work for us.
Yep.
So let us use something that makes us want to be here and makes us comfortable with who we are. Because
Sure.
weed today is not what it was 40 years ago. I know what the fuck I'm buying. I know when I'm buying sativa. I know when I'm using sativa in the morning. I know when I'm using a hybrid in the afternoon. And I know when I'm using an indica at night. I'm not buying a bag off the street that's called Skittle Fritz and the person just named it that because it sounded funny. You know what I mean? I know what the fuck I'm buying nowadays.
Yeah.
I
Yep.
know how I'm using it. So it's not like the 70s when you got sober. So, you know what? Like, suck a dick
Yeah.
because I'm happy as shit today and I'm not going to be miserable and pointing out somebody's sobriety. I don't care if you come to my meetings on methadone. I don't care if you come here on Vivitrol. I don't care if you come here on cannabis. I don't care if you come here still getting high. Come here a
Mm-hmm.
little less high next time. Come here with a few extra drinks less in you next time and get more sober. It's all about harm reduction.
At least
We
they're here.
we do meetings on harm reduction specifically here. Not only
Okay.
that, a couple weeks ago, I had a guy named Kenneth Anderson on. I don't know if you ever heard of him, but he literally wrote a book called Harm Reduction: How to Change Your Drinking. And
Oh.
he has a group on Facebook called HAMS, HAMS, which stands for Harm Reduction, Abstinence, Moderation, Support. And it has like 9,000 people in there. And some of them are abstinent from alcohol. They're called alcohol free. They talk about terms like AUD, SUD, not alcoholic, like alcohol use disorder and substance use disorder. So they use the real terms. And he's written a bunch of books on treatment. And every Tuesday, he does an intox where he doesn't drive, he doesn't go anywhere, he stays home, he watches movies, and he drinks a bottle. And then the other 6 days, he does his writing, he does his school. He's got like master's degrees on master's degrees. He does his groups that he runs. And then on
Right.
Tuesdays, he gets drunk. And he's all about harm reduction.
Yeah.
So his episode's a pretty cool episode. It is the longest one I did. It's 2 hours. But he talks about that. And I can't stand there's people even in my comments that judge all the time about people's recovery. It's like, just be happy that we're in recovery.
No shit.
It could be so much worse.
Yeah. Exactly.
And holding that in and holding in how your recovery is going is detrimental to both yourself and to somebody else that you could help save their life when you know that's all they need is to add that into their recovery and they're going to be fixed. Not fixed, but have a lot better of a time and a lot more comfortable of a time.
Yeah.
Like, imagine if you could have used this medicine from the beginning as opposed to last 5 months.
Right.
Would that have made a big difference, you think, in your recovery? Or how comfortable you were?
I mean, I don't know because this wasn't my first time in recovery. So, I definitely wouldn't have been on gabapentin as long. I know that. So, because now if I don't take my gabapentin, like I get migraines, like I withdraw from it. So,
Yep.
but you know what? Honestly, I couldn't even have smoked weed if I wanted to this time from the beginning, anyways, because I was on drug
On
court.
probation.
So,
You're on, yeah, that makes sense.
yeah.
And yeah, which is, it is what it is. And at least like you got to do sobriety different this time. So I'm sure the other times, like you were misusing it. Like
Yeah.
you were using weed as more of a crutch as opposed to a medicine. It's different whenever you smoke with the intention of I want my body to feel better, I want my neck to feel better, I want my knees to feel better, whatever. When you smoke with intention, it works with that intention. So, but when back in the day, you're like, I want to get fucked up, I want to get so ripped, I want to get so high, and then you smoke, 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 you
Mhm.
know. And then the relationship difference is you're like, oh shit, this is in pain. Oh shit, my anxiety. Oh shit, my epilepsy. Oh shit, this. I need, you know what I mean? Like you're using it as a medicine and not because you just need to escape.
Mhm.
And that mindset change is the difference. That's what.
Sorry. When I smoke in the morning when I wake up because from when I was just sick, I had a H. pylori in my stomach, which is a bacteria which had me. They thought it was my gallbladder. Like couldn't eat anything. Like very, very, very sick. So I'm just now like getting over that and starting to get my appetite back, but I still have the really bad nausea in the morning. So I smoke when I wake up to help with the nausea. And then typically I'm at work all day and then I don't smoke till like 6, 7 o'clock. And that's just a couple hits. And then when I'm laying down for bed is when I like smoke to go to sleep.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
I'm not even like really like high throughout the day, you know what I mean? So
Yeah, it's a totally different feeling. Like I said, like it's almost as if your brain accepts it differently. I think it's almost the same kind of idea as like back in high school when you would drink to party, and
yeah,
you had a great time because you were drinking with the intention of I'm celebrating whatever tonight, as opposed to when you become like an alcoholic drinker, when you're by yourself and you're drinking and you're just like sad and like crying into your bottle. You know what I mean? So, I appreciate how you share it, and that you are willing to be like, this is who I am,
mhm,
like take me or leave me,
right,
because when we talk about our story, it's a very vulnerable thing. We're doing a thing that sober people that are normies that don't have a drinking or drug problem, they can never do.
yeah,
You don't see people that don't have mental health issues and they don't have substance abuse issues or alcohol use issues where they're pouring their heart out on social media.
yeah,
You never see those stories like, oh yeah, like I'm a dad, I work full time and my mental health is great, I go to the gym 5 days. You don't hear about their struggles,
yeah,
and they have struggles, they just don't know how to internalize them because they have all these materialistic things that they can mask their struggles with.
sure,
And people like us are just like, fuck it, here's who I am, and if you don't like that, then kick rocks, because this is exactly who I'm gonna be, because I
yeah,
love who I am. Finally, for the first time in my life, I'm comfortable with who I am.
yeah, yep,
So
for real.
I just think it's, a very brave thing when people can share it, because not everybody can. It's easy to share in an AA meeting because like everybody is there for that reason. But when you're putting it out there,
Mhm,
it's a very vulnerable thing.
yeah,
So, but I think it's more helpful than hurtful, because you were never this open before when you tried sobriety, I'm sure.
no, no. And this time, like, as I just what tried to be like as transparent as I could be, you know?
I feel like that
And
takes a
then,
lot of weight off, so that we don't have the shame and guilt that comes
right,
attached with the things that we did in addiction that we have to feel bad for.
right. And like also, you know, with my sponsor, she actually has like a couple other, like another girl who did like the whole prostitution, sex trafficking thing like I did. So like I got brought into like with a group of people who had all been through like similar things with me, you know, and like we all do AA, like all of us girls do AA, but I mean a lot of our struggles are with drugs.
So
And
you're cool with your like sponsee sisters, then is what we call them, like when it's like your sponsors, other sponsees.
Yeah.
And we called them our sponsee brothers, or sponsee
Yeah.
sisters.
And
So whenever, like, yeah.
all of us are really fucked up, like my sponsor us always should be like, Ashlee, what did I do to deserve all you girls? And I'm just like, oh no, dude, you're an angel sent from heaven. Like,
It would have been funny,
it's
like, well,
to you.
we all want what you have.
Yeah, exactly. And she's, you know what I mean? She doesn't judge, like she's accepting, like I said, like she's down, like she's the one that opened my eyes to like not even just like marijuana maintenance, harm reduction, like all avenues of harm reduction,
Safe
like
needle exchanges,
yeah,
like
all
that kind of shit, making sure that
yeah,
it's a safe place to use with a buddy,
yep,
actually promoting, drug use in a positive way, as
yeah,
opposed to, I hate when they refer to us as junkies or addicts, you know what I mean? Or, the like no, we have like substance use disorders. Stop
yeah,
saying substance abuse. We
yeah.
have substance use disorders.
And
There's
when
a difference.
I was taught when I introduced myself to say I'm a person in recovery instead of saying like, "Hi, I'm Ashlee, I'm an addict," or whatever. I say I'm Ashlee and I'm a person in recovery.
I love that. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
because it's supposed to like you're a person. You know what I mean? You're not just like an addict or an alcoholic or whatever. Like,
We are a person first, and just
yeah,
because we, do identify sometimes as an addict or an alcoholic doesn't define who we are.
right.
Who we
And,
are is a person in recovery.
yep.
So I think that's awesome.
All right. Thanks.
Thank you. I will talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye.